My name is Jose Vasquez, and I will be presenting my messenger exercise for Professor Karen Hart, CSC376. Okay, so first I just want to show that the code is running accordingly. So real quick, let's show a quick demo, and then over here, the client, make sure it's working, and everything seems to be working. And that is it. That's essentially what it's supposed to be doing. So real quick, Control C, get out here. And, just to be safe, run the test real quick, just for confirmation. And then right after this, I will be showing the code. Everything seems to be loading. Okay, properly. And then just test 2. I did leave some notes in the submission box about something I had to do to the test file, but I did attach screenshots and everything explaining exactly what happened. But essentially, everything works perfectly. And let's get right to the code. Okay, so right here we have the messenger code. We have our declarations at the very top, but I want to start at the very where everything starts at the main. So this is the main. We have right here creates a new messenger object, and we declare the port number from the very start with nothing assigned. I do a try catch block to catch any errors, so it will try the code first, and if it runs good, it will never run into the catch. I did include also switch statements because I found it a little bit easier in my case. I'm not sure what other people found it easier, but this is what I found to be quite effective. So it all depends on the length of the argument. So if there is only one argument passed, then it will assume that it is a client because it is assumed that you're only given the port number. So the port number is declared to the position of 0, which is the first one, which is the only argument will be given is the port. And then we pass it through the handle server function function, and it takes the port number and it takes we give it the automatic the default string name for a client, which is localhost. Now if there are more than one arguments, then it will check if the first argument will be a -L, and it will set the second to the port variable. So first it checks in position 1 or position 0 in this case if it's -L. And if it is, then it will assign to the port number variable the second argument, which is args1, and then it will be passed through the handle server function. And if not, it is assumed that the first argument, again, like the case 1, it is just a client, and that's all it will do, honestly. So then let us move up. So right here we have our sockets, our port declared, and we have a should run because I do have a while loop running, which I will show right now. Actually, I just kind of want to show right here the handle server because this is where it comes. We do have a suppress warning because it kept giving me a bunch of notes when I would compile, so this is that for that. So in the handle server, we take a port number and a string. So first, it's going to accept the connections, right? So if host equals host server, which in this case it is right here, host server, this would mean it is the server. And it is going to create a new server socket with the port, and it is going to create the client socket or have one pending for it to accept, and then it's just going to close. Else, if it is not a server, then it will create the client socket with the port number. We have our input and output streams declared here. Our standard output, the string message, would be what is actually sent through the streams, and it's going to create a thread to handle the receiving messages. This will be the start method, and this function right, the do while, is going to it's going to handle sending the actual messages. The message is going to be set to whatever the standard input red line is, and it's going to output the message on the console. If the message is null, then it is going to it's going to stop the whole function, because it will I'll explain right now what the should run is. But if it is null, then the should run will be declared false. It will stop and it will close. The should run is right here. So all this will run, but if it's false, then obviously it will stop and close out. I also created a close function. This just makes sure that the output is not null. And if it is, then it will shut down both the client and the server. Up top, we have the should run function up here. This is set to true. While it is true, it will receive messages from the client, and the receive is set to the input string. If the message is null, the socket will close and it will just exit. But if the message is not null, then it will print the output message, the standard output message. And overall, this is also our receiver right here as well. It's just declarations that I used. Overall, this is all the code that I used. Thank you.